Hello everybody and welcome back to A Couple of Books. This is Couple as per usual. Today we're going to be doing a LitRPG book review. For those who are unaware, LitRPG is basically literature role-playing, and it is when we see characters usually interacting with some kind of virtual reality or some kind of gaming environment or even the real world sometimes, but with gaming components interwoven within the story. And I've done a whole series of reviews and questions and basically descriptions of what LitRPG is. Go check out in my channel for those videos. I've got a whole playlist down below. This is today going to be a specific book review of the second book in an End World Everlasting saga called The Broken Blade, A Battle Mage Reborn. This is by Brady. He gave me the first book to read and I loved it, and then he asked me to read the second one and I also loved it, and now I'm doing a review on it because I loved it and I want you guys to go read it and love it. What is this book about? Before I can really get into what this actual book was about, I need you guys to be sure that you guys have read the first book, because I'm about to spoil something, and that's pretty much going to be this entire review. It's going to be a spoiler of the first book. So be sure to have read the first book, and as well, if you haven't read the first book and you're curious, go check out my channel. I'll link it down below where you can find the review of the first book for your guys' pleasure. Let us get started. This is The Battle Mage Reborn, and it is getting better and better by every installment. Now, let me get into a little bit of a detail review here. We pick up right kind of where we ended off the first book. If you guys remember, Denton went to the swamp and he got pretty grievously injured. There was some super strong developments in the storyline at the end, and then he's given a quest by his mentor. And that's where we pick up. Denton has come back from the swamp. He's got a grievous wound that won't quite heal just right, and he's now on this journey to Snow Thistle Mountain, I do believe it's called, to go basically collect these super tiny, super fragile herbs in order to basically brew a elixir or potion that's going to heal him of this extremely odd, unnatural wound that he has. Because we've all played the video games where we have that retrieval quest. You know, someone says, oh, go grab this from that person, you go and you grab it, or they'll like, go grab 20 wolf pelts, and you go spend 30 years grabbing 20 wolf pelts, and then you go insane, and then you never even complete the quest, and whatever. We all know those things. And that's what it was. That was what I was kind of worried about when beginning this book, but Brady did not disappoint. This was an amazing book, and it just merely starts off with Denton going to the mountains as he's looking for these tiny super rare herbs in order to heal his wound. But he ends up coming across something much more sinister and much more dangerous that is going on in the mountains, and that is these monstrosities that are currently there. After encountering such a monstrosity, Denton ends up finding himself with his friends, and they are given a task to basically deal with the problem. That these monstrosities that usually live far from any human civilization are now beginning to encroach onto human habitats and coming closer and closer to actual villages and towns where they can do some very serious damage. And Denton and his friends are going to have to band together to go deal with this problem. Now, that is pretty much the setup and the premise for it, and I don't really want to go too much more into it because then we're getting in the spoiler territory of the second book, and you guys need to go read the second book. So let me just give you guys a little bit of a highlights of what I loved about it, spoiler free. So in terms of what did I love about this story, there was quite a few things, but number one is the world building. We were told in the first book that this world is utterly massive, much larger than the land mass of Earth itself. And so I was really kind of excited to see new areas of this world that we're now in, that we see Denton and his friends transversing, and we do indeed get it. We get a whole new region, we get whole new environments, we get snow-capped mountains, we get desert-like quasi places, we get a lot of really cool things, a lot of cool new regions, and the map has just expanded. And it is really quite fun to see this world grow, and it makes me even more excited to see what other worlds that Brady has in store for us. As we were hinted at within the story, these areas that they're in are like kind of basically like miniature regions, and that once they leave this starter area, it only gets more intense and more insane, and I'm very excited for it. I am very excited to continue reading this series because of that, as I love the world building. I love how Brady is structuring it, where it's kind of like unlocking phases of a map. You start off in your starter area, it grows larger and larger and larger. Kind of reminds me of Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, where you kind of get new regions, and all of a sudden this small little tiny starter area expands into a whole vast open world place, and I'm extremely happy and in store for it. Another thing that I love about it is that we have now known these characters for a little bit. We've gotten used to it, and you see that we are not repeating and continuing down the same kind of story arcs that we saw in the first book, because we are more comfortable with our characters and because we know them a little more. We can understand them a little bit better. Our Brady Frost takes advantage of this, and it allows for much grander and more significant character arcs to take place. I begin to feel more emotionally connected to these characters and actually feel what they're feeling, and I can sympathize with many of them and their actions and what they did and what they even went through throughout the story. For those who have not yet read the book, there's a lot of emotion in this story, and it's part of the reason I really love it, and part of the reason why I really love the characters, because there's just so much emotion. It's like you can like lick it off the plate, and it's really good, and it really makes you emotionally invested into the story. And then, of course, as you guys know, since I read the second book, I love Art Brady Frost's writing style and how he structures a story. I think it's really good. It keeps you always guessing. It keeps you always on your tip of your toes. It's never boring, because you go from new region to new region. You have always constant side quests going on in the background. Mainline storylines are going on while he's doing side quests. It's just a constant moving masterpiece, and it keeps moving at a exponential rate, and you're never really getting any slow moments, and that's part of the reason I also love this. With that being said, let us maybe get into some of the things that I didn't love about it. One of the things that I did not love so much about the story was Denton. Denton is not the most amazing protagonist, which is part of the reason I love this book, because I'm so tired of protagonists that are just like perfect and beautiful and gorgeous and everything's right with them. And it's kind of nice to see protagonists who have flaws and are imperfect, such as, for example, Denton's self-deprecation. He's always on himself, and he doesn't let us forget it for 20 pages, and at times it's so annoying that it's annoying. Like, it's no longer just like character like development annoying. It's now like actually a little bit annoying, which is understandable given Denton Wade's personality, that he's going to be this level of annoyance with his self-deprecation, and I totally vibe with it because it makes him feel so much more real. But at the same time, it was like almost overdone to a certain extent. Nothing super insanely, but just enough that like I noticed it, and I'm commenting it on it here, that his self-deprecation was kind of like on steroids during certain parts of the book, and we were being reminded about it very often, which I know can bother some people. Another thing that I wasn't a huge, absolute, total, obsessed fan over was some of the characters and their kind of drama. The level of drama kind of felt unreal at certain points in the story. I do understand that we are talking about the afterlife, and these are people who've lived full life experiences, and they've got a lot of emotion, and there's a lot going on, and that's going to lead to pent up emotions and pent up drama going on even over the smallest things. But it felt like it was just like the tiniest bit overdone to a certain extent. However, Frost did remedy that by the end of the story, and it makes me feel very satisfied with the conclusion. So, even with my negative opinions about the book, I still think that this book is really, really, really good. And it is better than the first installment. If you enjoyed the first installment, you're going to absolutely love this one, because it is fantastic. So much game mechanics, so much world building, so much adventure, so much drama, so much emotion. Everything's in the story. You really cannot love it. If you love LitRPG, if you love open worlds, if you love people dealing with like a little bit more heavy weight than just playing a video game, you're really going to enjoy this, because it actually has weight behind what the characters are doing, and you're feeling that within every page and at every moment. So definitely, if you are into LitRPG, if you love open world games, if you are someone who's maybe getting into LitRPG, you would also, I think, enjoy this, because the game mechanics are not so heavy-handed that you get lost in pages and pages of stat updates. It's really kind of seamlessly woven into the story, and our Brady Frost knows exactly when to cut out battle dialogue and battle updates and when to keep them in. It's really very well done, and I'm so excited to read the third book in this series when it does eventually come out. So, I hope you guys enjoyed today's review. I hope that you guys are going to check out this book. It's really good. I'll be linking it down below, so you guys can please go check it out, and let me know what your guys' thoughts are. If you guys read the first book, be sure to comment down below if you guys loved the first book, and if you guys are going to pick up the second one. I think that's everything for today, guys. So that means that we are done here. So computer's closed. So that means that I will be seeing you guys in the next video, where we are going to be celebrating the fact that we passed 300 subscribers, which is a pretty exciting fact. So Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe so we can work our way past 300 subscribers, and I'm really looking forward to that as well. And I will be seeing you guys in the next video. Bye now.